Hey, this is Faye, and today we're gonna talk about the Arcanist. The Arcanist is the basic starter magic caster from Limsa, and in the city they work as customs officers. So I like to think of the carbuncle as sort of a deceptively adorable sniffer dog. And that's really much all there is to it, isn't it? Or at the very least, the important part. You get to own a glowing magical sniffer doggo, and how awesome is that? Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Yeah, okay. Let's not shortchange you. You were kind enough to click the video after all, and there is a lot more to talk about, so strap in. Right, so the art of Arcanima hails from the Southern Sea Isles, which is the Lalafell nation between Oldenard and Myrcidia, where the art of expressing natural phenomena in mathematical terms have been perfected over many years to the fine exact art that it is today. It came over with the Lalafell, who arrived at Eorzea primarily to trade, very typical Lalafell, and it has sort of developed since there. At the present time, the Arcanists are steadily educated and employed at the customs office and the scholaries at Maelvon's Gate, sort of named after a past admiral, which is also known as the Arcanist Guild. It has been like that for around 500 years since the Lalafell Arcanist Iku, adorable name, became the advisor to the then present admiral and got charged with overseeing the customs and taxes and became an assessor, which is a title that you can still hear thrown around in some of the quests. They are doing these raids on the stuff that comes in via the seaway, and they apparently find contraband and other smuggled stuff on a daily basis, so go you sniffer doggos, go. Right, Arcanima is based on esoteric calculations, some really complex stuff. So think high-end math and geometry, I mean if math was magic. And all of you math majors out there, just sit down again, just calm down, because I hate to be the person to break this to you, but your topic is not in fact magic. Before your equations can give me a glowy sniffer doggo, let's just shelf this, okay? Yeah, moving on. Arcanima is the high geek class, and there is very little room for individual flair or variation here. It's very if-then calculations, very precise, very meticulous, and unlike some of the other casters, it's not so much about finding your own way into how you shape your own ether. Here the shapes are already given in advance, and all you really have to do is focus your ether into these very defined patterns like, a circuit board. What we see in the books are actually these arcane geometries, which are the patterns that you need to feed your ether through in order to get the right results, and then you conjure up the right glyphs and then it goes pew pew. The extent of it. How did they arrive at the fact that these symbols would work to conjure up these exact spells? Why, by trial and error, of course. Early mages of all different budding schools found that eventually they ran out of oomph, they ran out of power, they ran out of ether, and they wanted to cast bigger, better, faster, and stronger spells. Which of course made people get creative in how to pull on, for instance, sources outside of them, or how to work with the flow of the world instead of against it. And that gave rise to a lot of sigils, summoning circles, scribbles, cryptic symbols, and whatnot. And a lot of these backfired spectacularly. But we live and learn, or, well, those mages that survived learned, and in the end they found some patterns that worked, and they started tattooing those onto their skin or weaving those into their robes, so that they did not risk messing up the patterns when recreating it in a hurry or under pressure, and to minimize how much they needed to focus when they were channeling their ether. However, eventually you kind of run out of skin to tattoo on, or you get caught with something else on than your extra special magical robe because it's in the wash, and then what do you do? Well, the most popular way to square that circle, a little geometry humor in there for the math guys, was to bring along scrolls inscribed with the geometries to make localized summonings. In the end, some smart dude thought, I can bring along more of these, and if I'm bringing along a stack of these, I might as well put a cover on it and bam, it's a tome. And this seemed to be a good move, which leads us straight into talking about the tomes. Now, when you cast, you have to conjure in your mind the image of the distinct mystical diagrams known as arcane geometries of the spell that you want to cast. These will be inscribed in the book, so imagining them won't really be that tricky, but the trick is then to focus on them and channel your ether through them. This is where the ink comes in. If you've done any of the alchemist stuff on the side, you will know that you can create ink and that this ink can be magical. The better the ink is for conducting the flow of the ether, the easier it'll be for the Arcanist to cast, and the more efficient the spells will be, and their aether use will be. They will get more bang for the buck, so to speak. Overarchingly, there are 3 different types of tomes. Evolute tomes are the user-friendly ones. Here, the remnant elegant incantations have been abbreviated so that the results aren't as dependent on the skill level of the caster. The involute tomes are of Near Eastern origin, and these Hanish tomes are very meticulously made and ornate and intricate, with the placement of the words contributing to how the spell is cast. These are super hard to make and they're pretty hard to cast from, but they are also a lot more powerful. And finally, the Far Eastern books, where the logograms both provide the incantations and the geometries needed to cast a spell. This technically is its own school of Arcanima called Onmyoji, and if anybody's really interested, I guess I could make another separate video where I maybe put together all of these non-Eorzean schools of magic. All of these are compilations of spells, written by ether conductive ink and wrapped together, generally by leather but sometimes metals and wood. Apparently there is this thought that the older the beast that delivered the leather for the tome is, the better it'll help conduct the ether into the glyphs. But the cover might as well also be made from other ether conductive materials such as mithril and electrum. These are primarily favored by Chalaeans or people who have studied at the Chalaean Studium. Carbuncles, aka the sniffer dog of adorables. Because while the Arcanist belongs to a school that largely draws upon its own ether for the cast, they aren't entirely without outside help or assistance. They use gems, and those gems can be emerald or topaz or rubies very commonly. And these are inscribed or imbued with latent ether, which is how they summon carbuncles. The different gems will result in different carbuncles that'll have different colors and different affinities. A good quote is, "There exists some objects which are believed to toe the line between organic and inorganic, gems being one example. Arcanists tip the scales in favor of life by drawing ether into the stones. The result being the creatures known as carbuncles." So, I guess that is your basic recipe for making your own glowy sniffer dog, right? Maybe if we also could get our hands on some diamonds, we could also conjure the white one like Alfie has, but it does seem like conjuring from anything but the basic 3 stones is very difficult and only achieved by very skilled mages, like Urianger. A carbuncle is a magical creature that is made out of the wielder's ether. But while it is part of you, it does also have its own free will. And if you aren't a very good or focused mage, it might turn on you, like Tataru found out. Poor thing. Keeping focus is key, but I do imagine that most carbies are just happy little sniffer doggos that wouldn't dream of turning on you. Or maybe they would? We don't know. Aside of being very efficient and established as a school of their own, the Arcanists not only train future Arcanists, but they also provide the funding for and encourages the study of magics outside of Eorzea, like Martin the Blue Mage can tell us. So it is truly the most classically academical class, even if it feels really odd to find that in a city full of drunken sailors. Arcanists are not super rare, but as far as I can see, the only place that you can learn how to do so in Eorzea is in the Arcanists Guild in Limsa, who will apparently take in anybody who possesses the quote gift, which I guess is the ability to channel ether and the systematic mind to channel ether in this particular fashion. Clearly other places like Shalien have people that can teach them how to do this, so this is by far not the only place in the world where you can learn this, it's just the only place in Eorzea. There are of course other things that you can summon than a carbuncle, the summoner's Eggy and the Scholar's Fairies, but that is another topic for another day. Right, so the keynotes are: Arcanists use their own ether to channel through patterns, sigils, and glyphs that will shape the ether into the spell they want to cast. Arcanists can channel their ether into a stone and wake the latent ether inside of it to make a carbuncle, which, while being an extension of the caster, is still its own being with a limited form of free will. Arcanists have learned how to use magical ink, and seeing how skin is a limited resource and clothes need to be washed every so often, they eventually started making big-ass tomes to carry around to channel from. There are 3 different types of tomes: Evolute for easy mode, Involute for insane mode, and Far Eastern for I don't know what this means, but if I channel my ether through it, it'll read itself. Arcanists are geeky as fuck. This woman is awesome, and this glowy sniffer doggo is adorable. Go play Arcanist. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that it answered some of your questions you might have had on the Arcanist class as a caster. I'm pretty sure that there is some lore that I forgot or that just flew right on by me, and if so, then just give me a poke. In any case, thank you so much for watching, and have a really lovely day. Bye!